Hello everybody, we are the Geeks and Degenerates. I am Enzo and it's my forever co-host Jom. Today we talk about Blade. I said we are continuing our vampire lineup, even though this week is not completely full of vampires, but since we did talk about Castlevania Nocturne, I think this is fitting since we are called Geeks and Degenerates. And Blade is one of the most groundbreaking superhero movies of all time, even though budget-wise you're like, really? But it's groundbreaking for a few reasons. One being that this came right after, I think right after Batman and Robin, and people were like, superheroes, yuck, don't like.
Yeah, and then they see Blade and are like, oh.
Yeah.
Actually, like if you watch Blade, you would even think that he's like a comic book superhero.
Yeah. You just think like, oh, there's a vampire hunter named Blade. If you just remove the Marvel logo and everything Marvel has, you're just like, that's a pretty cool original idea. And then you see the Marvel stuff, you're like, it's a comic? Huh? Didn't know.
Right?
Confession is that I watched this in 2014 because I don't know, wasn't very interested in like the earlier Marvel stuff because I'm like, we have the MCU, why would I go back and watch the other stuff? And then I went back and I was like, I like R-rated stuff now.
No, like I remember watching the like Blade 2, the one with like Ryan Reynolds, where he dies in that one. Oh, that was 3.
Yeah.
I don't remember much. Like this is my first time watching Blade 1 in like almost 10 years.
That's fine. Yeah, and one of the other things that this opened the door for is R-rated superhero movies because this is pretty gloriously gory, especially with the opening rave, the blood rave.
Yeah. And I'm not gonna lie, I know this is a product of its time.
Yeah.
But this is like the most like you've seen other vampire movies, right?
Yeah.
This is beyond campy, but this is the people who pioneered this, where they're like, "Hey, Walker," they're like, they're doing that shit, and I'm like, it is so fucking funny.
Yeah.
But like, Blade, the beginning of Blade is fucking wild. You see like the rave starting, and like, ooh, you hear the beeps and the boops, and you see this guy coming into this rave, and you're like, what's so weird about this rave? Why is everybody so sketchy? Why'd you make out in front of the bouncer and he let you in? That's so weird.
Yeah.
And then you find out, oh shit, the sprinklers are like filled with blood and shit. And you see that guy kissing one girl and getting a blowjob with the other. And I'm like, yeah, it's R-rated. And I'm like, cool.
Cool. I dig with this. And then you see a Blade all decked out in black leather and like Kevlar and a sword and a gun, just like, oh damn, I'm in for a good time then.
Yeah, I love the costume. It's actually practical. Like besides the leather jacket that he wears, like the trench coat, everything else I was like, it looks solid. I like it.
And like the action is always good. Like there's, even though it's a bit shaky for my taste, I can still see what's going on. But yeah, what do you think of the action in this one?
Oh, fucking love it. That shit's sick though. Again, it's a product of its time. It's 1998.
Yeah.
But it's just funny. I had a good time. Like you see, like Blade shotgunning fools away. Yeah. Some vampires are running away as if this guy is just a menace and they're just having a good time.
Yeah.
And like.
He pins Bullock from Gotham into a wall.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit. Again, gory, good fun.
Yeah, I love that where he like shoots. What the fuck is that about?
And like, there's not much explanation of who Blade is, like except for the opening where you see his mom give birth and you think she's dead, and then it's just him, and then that's why he rescues.
She's like also bitten by a vampire while she was giving birth.
Yeah. And that's why he rescues Karen, because she reminds him of his mom. And then off we go for this adventure.
Weirdest introduction to Karen.
Yeah. You're just like, what movie am I watching?
Right? You're like, hey, do you think we could still work? And you're like, no, that's in the past, let it go. Guy gets bit by a vampire, she gets bit by a vampire, and then Blade takes her away. And then that's where the romance starts, I guess. And I'm like,
yeah. And then you're introduced
Okay.
to Abraham Whistler, who's played by Chris Christopherson, and he just lays down the rules of what vampires are and how to kill them and how what are we going to do with you when we turn.
Yeah, like we inject you with concentrated garlic and we're like you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, some kind of logic like that. And I love how, like, remember when he rescued her?
Yeah.
Like he's kind of like, all right, just trust me. He just tosses her out of the window, and she like once she lands, she dislocated her shoulder, which was the funniest shit.
It's like, I thought you said I could trust you. Even the police officers start opening fire, and it's like, are you out of your motherfucking mind? You're like, I like this guy.
Yeah, you're shooting in a hospital. I'm like, are you serious?
I just like the way Wesley Snipes talks and moves and just has this suave when he's a Blade. It's like, you just drip fucking cool. Just look so
Yeah.
fucking cool.
Yeah, like him, like readying up, like I remember it was like one of the last scenes where he's readying up for the big fight.
Yeah.
He's like making his own silver bullets. I think they kind of mistaken vampires for werewolves, but it's
Yeah.
him making the stakes and like the bullets, and it's like him just being prepared is cool.
Yeah. Just oozes swag. You're like, oh man. It's not like X-Men 2000 where it's like, I kind of wish Wolverine looked like this. Here, you're like, I dig it. I dig it a lot.
Yeah, no, it's comic accurate.
Yeah. And then,
And I love that he wears shades at night too. I'm like, that is so impractical. I wonder how Wesley Snipes filmed all
Yeah.
throughout, or they just really had to darken through editing.
yeah, it's like his two greatest, well, three of his greatest enemies here are vampires, daylight, and taxes. And that's the only time I'm going to reference that. Anyway. But I do have a problem when it comes to the villain, because it's the same problem you've had with Castlevania Nocturne, where the villain just, I don't know if it's just me, but they just all curse too much. And you're just like, are you a
Yeah.
fucking sailor again?
I forgot who the villain was, to be honest. I remember he's just this like scrawny like dude, and I was like with like 2005 hair. I'm
Yeah,
like,
Deacon Frost played by Steven Dorff. I'm just like, you could be cool, but you're just too much. You give too much of like, I just found out how to curse and I'm 15 years old. Just like, nah.
yeah, like mom finally lets me curse
Yeah,
in the house. So I'm like,
whoopee. And he's supposed,
yeah, I couldn't take him seriously.
yeah, like he's supposed to bring on their vampire messiah, La Magra, and I'm just like, I don't buy it. You as a villain, I'm sorry.
Yeah, same here.
Not the actor's fault, just the way it's written. Just like, it could be written better. Even though this is written by David Goyer, who did write the Dark Knight trilogy. I was like, could be better.
He was starting out, man.
Yeah. And then stopping it, Blade and Deacon Frost are in this collision way. And like, I do like the scene where, again, they meet up for the first time and they're all in black. Just like, it's so impractical, but at the same time, it just looks so cool.
It's so cool. It's like, it doesn't need to be this way.
Yeah.
It just is.
Yeah, and then
like, what would it be?
Deacon Frost like, if you won't join me, fine. And he just tosses a child into the path of bus. It's like, well, you don't see that in every comic book movie. Jesus.
I thought the kid got hit.
Me, dude, like, I think I had a Mandela effect out where I was like, I swore the kid got
I
hit.
swore the kid got hit by the bus.
Yeah. Also, if you don't read the comics, surprise, surprise, you find out that Blade is part vampire. Like, if you don't read the comics, you're like, oh, that's a twist. If you do, you're just like, I saw that coming. I know Blade.
I mean, I think him tossing the girl out of the window and him jumping from one building to the other kind of gave it away.
He was like, this man's not natural. I wonder what he has. Oh, it's vampire blood. Okay.
Yeah.
And he's constantly trying to look for a cure, but it's becoming ineffective because his vampire instincts are just going too strong. You're like, interesting lore. I should read up upon Blade because I'm not too familiar with Blade, but I do know he belongs in the group of like Marvel Knights where it's just Blade, Punisher, Black Panther, and I think Ghost Rider. So he belongs in that category of like, they're not really your average superhero of like, I'm Captain America, I know what's right and wrong. they'll probably put a bullet in someone's kneecap if they think they're sus. Like, oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I had a complaint. No, my complaint was Whistler's death when Deacon Frost invades their hiding space and they turn Whistler, and then his last few moments with Blade are like, I just pull the fucking trigger. Do it right now. Fuck. You're like, I don't think
Like,
people talk like that. I really don't.
yeah, no, not a, dude. This is very like action movie esque. Even with Blade, he's like put it straight to his heart. It's how you should do it. Like I'm like, okay, man.
I know you
Like
sound
nobody
cool.
really talks like that. Even with Whistler, I'm like, all right.
I'll do it. Kapelak. Rick. Oh, okay, cool. I didn't. You don't really feel Abraham Whistler's dead, and I remember correctly. Like he's in the second one, so I'm like, what's the point? Who cares?
What?
Yeah, you don't remember Blade 2 where he comes back? No.
No.
Sorry, spoiler if you don't remember. Sorry for the audience if you don't remember, even though these movies are like what, 20 years old at this point.
Even older, probably.
Yeah. But we get another twist where Blade is like, I'm gonna take all these fools down. I'm thought Lamaga, I'm gonna Mom? Is that you? He's like, it's an interesting twist.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That was the weirdest shit. Like she's alive, and I'm like, what? What's going on? I mean, they didn't say she died through childbirth or some shit.
Yeah. Sorry. Another thing about Blade I do like is that he does take the hits. He's not impervious to damage, which again ups the stakes of any action movie. You're just like, oh, you can be hurt. Cool. I care
human.
about you. Yeah. And then they use Blade by bleeding him to summon Lamaga, and then Karen has to save him by making him drink her blood, and like it all goes down between him and Deacon Frost, where Deacon Frost is not kind of, but is over the top acting as Lamaga, and I was like, ah yes, the 90s. Did not miss this trend. But
No, I did not either. I was like, every time I would watch it, I was like, I would like, I was watching it through my phone. I was like, because sorry, it's kind of cringy.
yeah. Do you like the superhero landing when he just lands? He goes Frost. You're like, oh, didn't know.
Yeah.
Didn't know Wesley Snipes had that kind of voice in him. Goddamn.
Neither did I.
And it ends with him injecting that explosive thing into Frost. You're just like,
Yeah, and he like puffs up and blows up. I was
Yeah.
like, oh yes.
it's sweet. It
Yeah, I completely forgot. He had like this thing on his shoulder, like it was like holy water or something.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was, to be honest, because they said holy water and crosses don't work in this world, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what he had.
I think it was a mixture of Karen's vaccine with like vampire blood, something like that.
Yeah, but I loved it because he like two vampires in the face, and they just puffed up,
Yeah,
and then they just blew up. I was like, that's so cool.
that's pretty sick. Even though you're just like, ah, yes, I don't miss those outdated 90 effects.
No, those were great. I would say those were great.
What do you
It was fun. It reminds me of Nickelodeon a bit.
Yeah. Oh man. What do you say to Frost? Motherfuckers always trying to skate uphill. You're like, what?
I don't know. I really don't know. I was like, oh, he's rambling again.
And then Karen's like, I could give you a cure, and he's like, there's a war going on. I still need to fight it. Like, alright. There's a deleted scene where the director of this movie, Stephen Norton, is supposed to be Morbius. And you're like, oh shit. 90s.
That'd been cool.
Morbin time.
90s morbid time.
But
Might have been better than the one we got. Who knows?
you know what? Probably right.
Yeah, but yeah, the ending goes pretty much in when like,
Russia.
I'm not the hero that they need right now.
Oh yeah, exactly.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
This is my mask. She's like, what?
This is why he never wears a mask.
Like, you want to wear shades. What mask? But yeah, it ends, and you're like, that is a kick-ass movie. Not gonna lie.
It was a fucking fun movie. Like, I remember people making fun of Blade, and I was like, could have sworn this was a horrible movie. And then I rewatched it, I was like, God, Lord, it's so good.
Oh no, 3
It's
is
so
the
fun.
horrible one. 2 is the
Yeah.
one directed by Guillermo del Toro. It
Yeah.
really ups the stakes. And the directing style.
That's why I was like, I think it's because I watched 3. Like, that was the one I recently watched. And
Tree's the one with Triple H.
yeah,
Yeah.
I forgot. Now I would love to do the Blade trilogy.
Same here. Well, I mean, the new Blade's coming out next year with Mahershala Ali as
Yeah.
Blade, even though I hear like drama behind the scenes, but like I hope it turns out well because Marvel definitely this year has been kind of like it's like please just
Yeah.
work. I do know Mia Goth from X is in it.
X.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Anthony Starr might be the main villain.
I say it was a vampire.
Yeah. But going back to Blade, what would you rate the first Blade?
And it's a good time. It's not a perfect movie. It's cheesy in so many ways, and it is very 90s action movie.
Yeah.
But it is one of those like groundbreaking comic book movies that were like, oh shit, okay, I didn't know comic book movies can be like this. I thought it was just mostly for kids.
Yeah.
And it's just a good time. You don't need to take it seriously. If you want to, go nuts, but like, you've watched vampires' faces explode, and I love that.
Yeah.
And Wesley Snipes doing a Batman voice before Batman voices were a thing, and it's so fun.
I'd argue
And I love it.
his voice is kind of cooler than Christian Bale's.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And I say, like, even his costume, like, it's comic accurate too.
Yeah.
I just gotta say, it's a fun time. It's not like groundbreaking when it comes to screenwriting or some shit like that. No, it's a fun action superhero movie, and I'll
Yeah.
give this one a solid 7 out of 10. Like, I really suggest people who watch this one because I really hope this one doesn't get forgotten. Like, the new one with Mahershala Ali.
Yeah.
For sure, they're gonna take it in a more serious route, and I can't wait for it.
Mhm.
And I would love to see more lore when it comes to like him and what with his connections with the Black Knight.
Yeah.
But I really hope that they stick with like how cool Blade is. Like
Same here.
the amount of swag this man has. I'm like, all right, he wears shades at night. That's how cool he is.
I'll also give this a 7. It's a very stylized action movie that I like you. I hope it's remembered. Like, even though some effects you see how badly they've aged, you're just like, you know what? I'll forget that. It's fine.
Yeah.
And again, Wesley Snipes is the one carrying this movie, and you're like, oh, this is why people aspire to be like him. Like, I remember, I think it was the time of Blade 3 where people were just walking around shades at night with trench coats. Just like, that's where they got it from.
I thought it was The Matrix, but okay.
Sure. But yeah, pretty good movie, and like opens the doors for like not only just for R-rated stuff or for superheroes again, but also opens the door for like diversity in the comic book genre. With this, you get Black Panther, we get Miles Morales. And that's where we get the next hero in our lineup, which is Blue Beetle. But for this movie, yeah, it's not too solid, but it is a fun time. Anything else to add?
No, pretty much said our love for this movie, and I didn't expect to love it. Like that.
But yeah, if you want to see more of us, please like our video, subscribe to the channel, and ding the bell icon to get notified of when we upload next. We're also on Spotify and TikTok to see your best and funniest moments. Spotify to hear us on the go. Individually, you can't find me on any social media. I don't know why I started there, but you can find this
I don't know.
gentleman.
Yeah, you can find me at JohnGM_on Instagram. It is my account.
And I gave away our next video, so we'll see you then. Bye, everybody.